What's up, everybody? It's Chris from Chris Beat Cancer, and today my guest is Elissa Goodman. Elissa is a 25-year holistic lymphoma survivor. She is a holistic nutritionist now. She has done a number of cool things. Some of them include creating cleanse programs for restaurants that you may know if you're in California or Los Angeles area. Cafe Gratitude, M Cafe, Air One. She even has a juice named after her at Cafe Gratitude called Elissa Goodman's Thyroid Juice, which is pretty cool. How do I get a juice named after me? Can you put in a good word for me over there?
I'll try, definitely. What would you like to have in it?
Cool. We'll work on that after this. We'll work on a formulation after this interview. She has a salad there that she created called I Am Cleansed. And she wrote a book that came out about 3 years ago called Cancer Hacks. And so Elissa's got a fascinating story. We've chatted, I guess maybe a month ago, connected by our friend Kelly. And I just thought it'd be really fun to interview you and introduce you to my audience, because I know you have so much value to share. So, hey, Elissa.
Hey, Chris. Thank you. Thank you. I'm really honored to be being interviewed by you, as well as I love, what you're doing for this whole wellness cancer community. I mean, it's so needed.
Thank you. I do agree. It is needed. It's needed, and every morning I wake up just thinking about, okay, how can I help more people? How can I serve more people? Like, what can I do today to help somebody? So
it's the best feeling, isn't it? It's like, it's intoxicating.
It is. It's addictive, right?
Yeah.
And I've said this before, but serving people makes you feel so good, right? It is like a drug. You just want to keep doing it. So no CBD for us or yeah,
alcohol, but yeah, it is. It really is. It's just being able to give people hope and to be able to see their lives change, and it's pretty awesome.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So I'd love for you to tell your story, the lymphoma story, and then we'll talk about what you're doing now too. I mean, we've got a lot to fun stuff to talk about. So
my story is just in a nutshell. It's long, but it's I was not a healthy kid growing up. I came into the world with a not strong immune system. And I think, a lot of times moms and people just don't tap into that. I had a low white blood cell count, so I ended up having to get blood shots. And then that didn't really seem to help. I got sick with everything growing up, chicken pox, and I got mono a couple times, strep, tonsillitis, just digestive issues. I mean, every time I was turning around, something was happening because I feel like my immune system was a bit compromised. Plus, I grew up with two very type A parents who were amazing, but I feel like they ran circles around me, even as a kid. I felt like, man, at my age, I should have been running circles around them. They were very successful, very motivated. They were very much on the track of 5 hours of sleep a night and, just conquering the world. And so I always, emotionally, there was a component there where I just didn't feel like I measured up. Like I wasn't going to be able to keep up. I wasn't going to be as successful as them. I wasn't going to be as smart as them. So I think I had those two components, physically and emotionally. So because the emotional component is huge, which I didn't realize till later in my life. I followed in their footsteps. I moved from Arizona, where I went to school and college and grew up, went to New York, worked in the advertising business, was sick a lot there because of the weather and how I ate and how I treated myself. And the energy in New York, I mean, I loved it. And also it wasn't so good for me with someone who was...
It's intense.
It's intense, yeah. So I then married my husband from New York and moved him to LA. And I got a dream job in LA with Vogue magazine. 6 months in, I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. And my world was completely turned upside down. And I didn't really have symptoms. I was getting a massage, which was kind of crazy. I was sitting upright like this, and they were massaging my collarbone, my neck, and the woman said, you have a swollen lymph node on your collarbone. You're not supposed to have a swollen lymph node there. So you should get that checked out. And then went to the doctor. He didn't biopsy it. He just felt it, just the general practitioner. And he's like, oh my God, it could be cancer. And at 32, I'm like, whoa, I've been trying to have kids, trying to start my life in LA and still trying to climb the corporate ladder. And it was like, and then when I got it biopsied, it was an early stage of cancer and the Hodgkin's lymphoma. The doctors, as you know, were terrifying. We're going to have to freeze your eggs because you haven't had kids yet. You're going to have to chemo, radiation. Do you have a donor? I mean, it was like before anything, it was way ahead of, where I was at. I mean, the fear of all of this was intense because they didn't treat it like they terrified you. They didn't make you feel like you're going to get through this. It's an early stage. There are things we can do to help you through this. So the third doctor I went to see was like that. He was a radiologist oncologist who was amazing. And he sat me down. He goes, it's an early stage. Can you tell me about your life? Like, are you stressed? What's going on? Are you happy? Are you living your dream of, your purpose? And I was like, I'm miserable. LA is not an easy place to move to. And we didn't have any friends because they were all in New York. The job was really intense. I had gotten in over my head in terms of the expectations. And I just never felt well. I was always behind the 8 ball. So even if I tried to eat healthy, it just never felt like I was in that mode of feeling strong. So he's like, let's see if we can deal with this, more emotional. Let's get you some help emotionally. And then, you probably have to do chemo, radiation. But I had this gut instinct that I was going to beat this sucker. Like, it was early, and I just knew this was a wake-up call for me, that how I was living needed to be turned around. And so I did. I chose to do half the radiation. My oncologist basically fired me. He said, I can't treat you because you're not doing what I say, so what happens if it comes back? And so I found a radiologist to do the half the radiation, and I went into therapy, and I started eating super healthy. I became vegan. I wasn't a healthy vegan because I didn't know how to do it, but I definitely ate more veggies and fruits, and I started juicing like crazy. There was one juice place, and it happened to be down the street from me, so I'd go there every day. I juiced like carrots, and I was this color. My palms were orange, everything. And I got through it. So then 11 years later, my husband was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So
it's crazy.
It is crazy.
And was he on the healthy bandwagon at that time?
No, he was. Not that this gives you cancer, but he was a huge animal protein eater. He was always doing the Atkins protocol. Oh, yeah. And so it was fat and animal protein, and he was always watching his weight, a lot of sugar. He had a candy jar in his office. It was like he was and he loved caffeine, and he thrived on stress. He just was, and he was super successful and great personality, but he just was always stressed. He got up at 5:30 and do a Barry's boot camp workout class, and he just thrived on the no sleep and all of that. So
always pushing himself.
Yeah, those many factors have to come together for cancer, as you know. But so he did everything the doctor said. He did chemo, radiation. He did 2 bone marrow transplants in a year and a half, which is kind of unheard of. They never gave him a break.
Rough.
I know. And he ended up passing away of fungal pneumonia at 45.
Oh, man.
So I had 2 girls. We had 2 girls at that time. They were 2 and 7.
Let me just ask you something, because this is not uncommon. And what I've found is that a lot of cancer patients die of other causes that are related to treatment.
Yeah.
Right? And so the cause of death for him was pneumonia, but he wouldn't have gotten pneumonia if his immune system hadn't been destroyed by treatment.
Absolutely. I feel like the treatment's really, really destroyed him. I don't know. Do you ever hear of 2 bone marrow transplants in a year and a half? 1 in a year and a half is really intense.
I've never heard of that. I
know.
I imagine it's happened somewhere to somebody, but yeah, I've never heard of that.
I know. It was like they were like, he's strong, he's young, every time he did chemo, and every time we did the transplant, in a month or 6 weeks later, the cancer was back in his blood. It came back in his spinal fluid. It came, it was like, it was really aggressive, but when it was diagnosed, it wasn't diagnosed as aggressive. It was stage 2, and it was follicular.
Yeah.
So what was large B cell and follicular? Follicular is a little bit more aggressive.
And non-Hodgkin's, is typically responds very well to treatment, but obviously in your husband's case, treatment, it sounds like it made it more aggressive, which also can happen. I
think so too. And he also, his dad passed away of melanoma when he was 2. So not, again, I don't think that it's completely genetic cancer. I think small percentage. But it was just, I think he was so afraid of dying because that fear factor of knowing that his dad passed away of cancer. I don't think he had that feeling that he could beat this. He did at the beginning, but as time went on, it got intense. And so when he passed away, it was definitely traumatizing, more so than my cancer or anything that happened to me in my life. And then I realized these girls had 2 parents who had cancer, and they're going to think they're going to get cancer. I mean, they're just automatically going to be traumatized by all this.
Yeah.
So that's when I went back to school and I learned nutrition, Eastern and Western, and all different types of modalities and supplements and herbal remedies and Ayurvedic and Chinese and acupuncture and trauma work. And because I just wanted to actually help the family, the 3 of us. I wasn't going back to school to become a nutritionist. There was no part of me that, I needed to get healthy. I was it for them. And these girls needed to know that they were going to not get cancer and they were going to be healthy and they were going to live a happy, strong life. So, but it was a long road. I mean, I went back to school and then I got hired after school to do these cleanse programs that you were talking about. So then the rest was history. I kind of got addicted to helping people. And realizing that, wow, if I could get through it, maybe I can help other people get through it.
Exactly. And how old are your girls now?
They're 21 and 24. And there's been a lot of trauma in their life in that way. And every time someone gets sick, they do get traumatized. Or if someone gets cancer, that doesn't go away. But they've had a lot of emotional guidance and help with that. So they know when it comes up that that's what it is. And they didn't eat healthy for so long. They were so against what I did. The green juices and the vegan lifestyle or the plant-based.
Classic teenage rebellion, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I didn't have any sugar or candy or anything in the house, so they would get it elsewhere and they would go crazy.
Right. I know. We are. So that's obviously a concern of mine for my kids, and my wife too. We don't want them to rebel with junk food.
Right.
And so we've tried we've been very deliberate in sort of balancing the way we approach food with them. So I mean, we eat super healthy, we're plant-based, but we don't put these sort of strict rules on them, and so they know they have freedom to eat whatever they want.
Right.
It just so happens that we don't have a lot of that stuff in the house.
Right. I know.
Yeah.
It's good. I mean, I always tell parents and people, don't take it away. And also, if you want to have, sweets, bake them and try to make them healthier so then their taste buds like those rather than the really crappy stuff. So it's been an interesting road. I mean, they radiated my thyroid and my upper torso. So I got hypothyroidism, which took 4 years to get diagnosed. And then, of course, most hypothyroidism turns into Hashimoto's, the autoimmune stuff. So I was dealing with that for 21 years as well. So that was a bit of a struggle. But once that was diagnosed, things got better. And then I was able to find, I am so into, like you, so many different modalities. I was treated with a medical medium. I love, energy healing. I love just herbs, plants and herbs and all that stuff. I think it's so powerful. And I treated myself with all that. And I was able to put myself in remission for that.
It's awesome.
So it is. It's really, I mean, I'm such a believer that, our bodies want to heal and they know how to heal. And if you just give them the right medicine, And people are like, just these days, Chris, so like overwhelmed with the info out there. There's too much. There's too many diet modalities. There's too many supplements. There's too many superfoods. They're going a little cray-cray.
I know, it's true. I created a course a couple of years ago called Square One, which was my attempt to combat all the misinformation and just give people a very straight, simple, straightforward path, right. Starting point. Because you get on Google and there's a million bloggers and websites and people selling stuff, and it's like some of it has value, some of it doesn't, and like when you're in a crisis, like you really you don't have a whole lot of time to waste, especially like on wild goose chases. And so I'm with you for sure. It's like it's hard, I think, for a lot of people to distinguish between the latest fad, and time-tested, like, dietary wisdom.
I mean, it's about the basics. You go back to eating real food. You eat more plants, right? Veggies and fruits, and that's where the good stuff is. That's where the nutrients are. And cut back on that animal protein to some degree. Not that it's terrible, but some of it is terrible. And the inflammatory stuff, and get enough hydration. But just even the simple stuff, it's shocking. Sleep, de-stress, it's shocking how many people don't drink enough water, don't eat enough veggies. They're basically into the animal protein and fat these days, more keto-esque way of eating.
Yeah, paleo, keto, right?
And that is good for certain things, but you have to balance it out. And I know I'm a huge fan of getting nutrients at a cellular level, getting them into your bloodstream, getting them into your mitochondria of your cells. And I think you can do that with green juices without any fruit. I love the fact of a smoothie without fruit, a lot of fruit as well, but with a greens powder, something that's really, just even chlorophyll or spirulina, or I have a greens powder that I love called Pure Synergy. That guy has been formulating it since 1977. That's why I do the soup cleanse, pureed veggie soups. Where your digestive system doesn't have to digest the food and break it down. It goes right into the cells and the tissues and the bloodstream. And some of these things can detox the blood, which I think we need too. So I'm always trying to teach people, throw that into your daily regimen. It doesn't mean you have to give up all of this stuff that you love, the coffee or maybe the alcohol or the animal protein, but you definitely need to get these nutrients, like an IV of them somehow.
Yeah, and it depends on the urgency of their situation too, right? So the more urgent they are, the more massive action is required.
Right.
And if they have a small problem, then okay, we can make some small changes and see if it helps, and kind of take this sort of gradual, progressive approach. But
right.
Yeah, if they're coming at you with major disease, cancer and things, it's there's no time to waste. We got to pull out all the stops. We got to change everything. That was my approach. I'm going to change everything, right? Anything that could possibly be contributing to disease in some way.
Yeah.
I am willing to let go of it and replace it with something better, even if I don't like the taste.
Right. I know. And I wish more people were like that. I wish more people would just jump on that bandwagon when they are sick. So
it's hard to help people if they don't want to change, right?
I know.
It's impossible, really.
Yeah.
If they don't want to change, it's hey, you get a gunshot wound, go to the hospital, they can help you. You don't have to do anything, right?
Exactly.
They can help that.
Right.
But in terms of these chronic lifestyle diseases, diseases caused by our diet, caused by our lifestyle choices, you can't get over them if you don't change.
Yeah. What I've seen recently, Chris, is so many people don't honor themselves. That at the root level, they don't love themselves, they don't think they're worth healing, or they don't think they're worth it, or they don't feel they feel selfish taking care of themselves. And that is like been massive, even more so than food and like all these, supplements, or like people not like getting in touch with that self-love. Like they're here for a reason. They are worth it. They do have things to offer the world, that they can make some simple changes and really change their life, but they have to feel like they're worth it.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because before I was diagnosed, I had very low self-esteem. I did not like myself. I didn't feel worthy. And, I think a lot of that contributed to the fact that I got sick.
Right.
And I'm just so thankful that I was taught by other survivors and healers early in my cancer journey that, like, hey, you've got to change the way you're thinking about yourself. Like, you have to choose to love yourself. You have to choose gratitude. You have to choose to focus on the good things in your life instead of the bad things, or the things you wish you had, or the things that other people have, right? Yeah. And the more you focus on the good things in your life, the more gratitude just wells up, and that gratitude brings joy and contentment and fulfillment and happiness, like all those wonderful things. And so you can't just flip a switch, it's a daily mental exercise.
Right.
That and I still do it today. I have to catch myself, if I'm thinking, if I'm have jealous feelings or insecure feelings or anything,
Absolutely. I know. Thank God for more meditation and sound baths and just, energy healers today, helping people kind of get back in touch with themselves. Really, if they're not on the path that they want to be on, that they're helping them, guide them to find that path, because I think that's huge. I mean, one of my favorite books, I'm sure you know it and probably had her on, is Kelly Turner's Radical Remission. And
absolutely. I love Kelly. She's just wonderful. She's a wonderful person. In fact, I saw her just a couple weeks ago in New York, and she's great. The book's awesome. Radical Remission is a fantastic book. I recommend it all the time.
Same. Yeah. And all those emotional components, the 7 emotional, 1 supplement, 1 food, it's wild in terms of that. Was such a light bulb. I mean, I knew emotions were important, but I didn't know how important.
Yeah, and for anybody that doesn't know the premise of the book, it's basically Kelly studied all these cancer patients who had healed against the odds. They're, what they call radical remission or spontaneous remission patients. I was one of them that she interviewed, but there's many. I think she looked at 1,000 case studies or something, but she identified 9 key factors between all these people. And like you said, 7 of the 9 were mental, emotional, spiritual type factors. Only 2 of them were physical, like diet and supplements. Although she is adding a 10th factor.
Oh, she is?
Yeah, she missed one in the book. There's a 10th factor, and that's exercise.
Oh, okay.
So there's one more physical factor that really does contribute to survival and healing. Yeah. But anyway, I mean, and so many people just focus on the physical stuff, right? Yeah. Diet, exercise, and supplements. Mm-hmm. And, if Kelly's research holds up, I mean, that's only 30% of the problem.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The other 70% is the other stuff.
And I was lucky because that one doctor, so many years ago, way ahead of his time, was on that bandwagon, was sort of tuned into that, which was unbelievable, because still today they don't tune into that, which drives me crazy with the people I see and the cancer oncologists. They don't talk about that stuff. That's why I send a lot of my clients to functional integrative doctors, because a lot of them, the one that I use here a lot, he spends 2 hours with them prior to doing any tests, talking about their life. By the end of 2 hours, he kind of sums up what's wrong with them. So I think that is so exquisite these days, to be able to, get the whole picture.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like you took your car in to get worked on, and they're like, well, 3 of your belts are bad. 3 of your belts are totally worn out, right? One of them's broken, the other 2 are about to break, and we're just going to replace one of them.
Right. Let's see how you do. Right.
And send you on your way. Not a good strategy.
Exactly. And that engine light, isn't really on yet, but there's warning signs coming up, and I know you kind of ignore all the warning signs. So I think that, but I'm so excited the way things are going these days, because with the blood tests and with the functional and getting to the root cause of people's health issues, and maybe hopefully like steering away cancer for these people, like, is such a beautiful thing. So there's so much, research and so many great things happening to help people. And that's what I love. I'm like fascinated with everything that's happening to like help people get to a better place, and people are wanting to earlier and if they are thinking they might get cancer, or if their family member has cancer, they're taking care of it.
What have you learned, recently that you're most excited about?
One thing I've learned, really, because I love the whole cleansing, detoxing world. It's not about starvation, deprivation. It's just about taking away inflammatory foods and getting real, like we talked about, the fruits and veggies, and eating anti-inflammatory as much as you can. I mean, the body resets in 5 days. But one thing that with the detoxing, I'm a big fan of like that detoxing, cleansing lifestyle. And I personally do that with a bit of intermittent fasting, with the juicing, just all of those things, and getting those nutrients at a cellular level so that my organs can detox. But the glutathione, I didn't realize, I think till a couple of years ago, that half the population doesn't have a gene that can help them detox. So there's a gene that basically they don't get, that where they can create more glutathione and have glutathione to help detox the body. And those are the people that are getting sick, even though they are doing healthy things, and they're not realizing what's going on. So there's a genetic effect to this, right?
Are you talking about MTHFR?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, it's different.
Oh.
It's not MTHFR. It's different. It's like something like GTS, something like that. I can't remember the exact gene, but we need to create glutathione. It's the master antioxidant, and it helps us cleanse and detox the body. So, and some people don't have that ability to do that. So, because I'm always trying to tell people how to do that. Like, I'm always teaching people how to, eat sulfur-rich veggies. That's a huge thing, as you know. And take methylated. Yes, they do probably have a genetic effect with the MTHFR. Take methylated B12, B vitamins, B6, folate, all that stuff. So, and collagen too is a great thing. The collagen powder has the amino acids, 3 amino acids that help create glutathione. So that's another great thing that has kind of come up the pike. The bovine collagen powder, if you aren't vegan, is great for helping create more glutathione in the body. So that's something that I'm been fascinated with.
So how would you say that cancer changed you for the better? Cancer
changed me for the better because I realized that really I wasn't feeling in love with myself and really worthy, and I didn't really feel like I had a place on this earth. I was just here to emulate people that I had, been brought into the world with. So I didn't really feel like I was an individual. I didn't feel like I was important. So I feel like cancer changed me in that way. It made me realize that I am important, and I'm here to do great things, whatever I end up doing, whether it's small or large. I feel like it definitely helped me find my place and my passion, and it helped me fall in love with myself, not on a egotistic way, but just in a heartfelt way. And it also made me realize, I just turned 59, and I've never felt better in my entire life. So I realized that also having cancer made me realize that I don't want to feel bad. I don't want to feel crappy. I don't want to get cancer again. I don't want to get these health issues or hormone issues or things as you age, dementia, Alzheimer's as well. So it kind of it keeps me on my toes.
Who were the people that influenced you back, when you were first diagnosed, whether it was books or authors or, how did you get turned on to the holistic path?
That is a good question, because back then there weren't as many, because that was a lot of years ago.
It wasn't online, that's for sure.
I mean, it might have been like someone like Dr. Weil, Andrew Weil back then. I also was lucky enough that growing up, my mom went to a health ranch called Rancho La Puerta. Have you ever heard of that in Mexico?
Yep.
So that I went to it a number of times as a teenager. I hated it with a passion because I didn't want to be with all these old ladies exercising and, like I was like wanted to be with my friends. I didn't want to be eating plant-based food and exercising at 5:30 a.m. up the mountain and, getting massages and hanging out with like 30, 40-year-olds. I mean, that was not but I think that I saw these women change in the 7 days they were there. So I'd have to say that must have had an influence in me. I mean, afterwards it was the China study and, people like Anita Morjami and, just like those, and Sarah, or was it Sarah Gottfried, or is it Elissa Rankin?
Mind Over Medicine?
That was after.
Yeah. Those
things really changed me. Mm-hmm. In that regard. But I think in the early days, there wasn't as much to go by.
Yeah, I mean, you were, what year was that for you?
That was 92.
92. So I was in diagnosed in December 2003, but January 2004 is when I started, trying to figure out how to get well. But the internet wasn't helpful to me then either. And
right.
I just went I was book to book, Paul Bragg and Dr. Lorraine Day, and she was after you, as far as her cancer journey, and some others. And Dr. Richard Schultz, do you know Richard Schultz?
Yeah, he's still around, right? Yeah. And he's in LA.
Yeah, I think he's kept a pretty low profile.
I know, but his supplements are incredible. Still, he's one of the in the forefront of all that.
Yeah, he's hardcore. He was preaching the organic supplement message, decades before anyone took that seriously.
I know. Yeah, I forgot about him. He was good. It was cool because I moved from New York to LA, and LA did have one juice place. It had Mrs. Gooch's, which is Whole Foods now. It did have acupuncturists and colon therapists, and it did, all a lot of naturopaths and all of that. It did have that stuff happening. So I guess I was lucky too that I had moved to LA, because I'm sure I wouldn't have found it probably as much in New York.
Definitely not in Memphis. You would not have found it in Memphis.
Right, not in Memphis. Right, that's true. That's true. So, yeah. So I was, I definitely, but I think it was more that probably Rancho La Puerta days and seeing how this way of living, these women were so stressed out when they got there and they weren't sleeping and they were on meds. And my mom was an asthmatic and needed her inhaler consistently. And by the end of the 7 days, she didn't. So, and these women were happier women at the end of 7 days of being off the grid too.
That had to have made a big impression on you for sure. Yeah. My mom was always into healthy stuff and was always kind of reading health books and buying stuff at the health food store, weird, supplements and wheat germ and, sprouts and kefir and stuff like that.
So she was ahead of her time too.
Yeah, she really was. She really was. But we still ate, we still didn't eat the way that I eat now. Like, we didn't eat plant-based. We ate a very sort of standard diet in a lot of ways. I mean, pretty much animal products at every meal and things like that, but she was definitely, a voracious reader on healthy stuff, but, and was buying like whole wheat bread instead of the white bread, and was buying the peanut butter with no sugar, which I didn't like nearly as much as Peter Pan. You know?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, not letting me buy like the super junk food cereals, you know, like Lucky Charms or something. But anyway, yeah. So, but that made an impression on me. You know, I mean,
right.
I grew up around that, and you know, even though she wasn't super hardcore, I still had this little bit of a foundation of healthy living and she had collected all of these books. I don't know if you know this about my story, but she had amassed this huge library of books on health and healing, on alternative medicine, healing cancer, like all these books that she had just bought over the years. Probably, I'd say the vast majority of them she had bought from the little hole-in-the-wall health food stores in
just
town.
Because she was interested in it?
Yeah.
Because she was interested in health?
Yep. She never had any chronic diseses, never had any health issues, but she just really was into prevention. So she was just reading and reading and reading, loved to learn, loved knowledge.
Yeah.
And then as it turned out, you know, that the reason she had such a strong drive was because I was going to get cancer. Yeah. Right? Like, she didn't know that, but it was like God leading her in that process. And so she was a big supporter, like, of me in the beginning when everybody else thought I was crazy. My mom understood why I walked away from conventional therapy and said no to chemo after surgery. And then she had all these books. Yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, it was kind of funny because almost every book that, you know, you read a health book and they reference some other healthy influencers or whatever, right? And you're like, oh, who are they? And every time I would learn about somebody new, I would ask my mom, and she was like, oh yeah, I have that book. You know? And it's like, this is crazy. I can't believe you have all these books. Like, but yeah, she had Richard Schultz's books, Lorraine Day's books. She had Pablo Areola, like a super old school raw foodist. Of course, Lorraine Day stuff. She had the original Rebounding book by Al Carter. I mean, it's just crazy. It's just crazy.
Oh my goodness! Did she do massages? Did she do like stuff for herself too? Did she do massages and
not much?
No, she didn't really take care of herself in that way.
I mean, not much. She, you know, went to the chiropractor some, but she didn't really do much other therapeutic type stuff. She did have a rebounder though. Yeah. So like we had a rebounder in the house when I was a kid. We always had one in there.
Do you rebound?
Yeah.
You do?
Oh yeah. No, I bought as soon as I was diagnosed, you know, and I was changing my whole life. I bought myself a rebounder and was doing a lot of rebounding.
What would you say is the one thing that you do today that is exceptional in terms of keeping you just vibrant? Yeah.
Gosh, you know, I don't know that it's one thing. I mean, the diet's a big piece for sure. Yeah. But you're just eating tons of fruits and vegetables, and tons of plant food.
Do you juice?
Huh?
Do you juice?
Yeah, I have, you know, on average maybe a juice a day.
Okay.
So not tons of juice like I used to.
Yeah.
About a juice a day on average. But diet's big for me. Getting a lot of sleep is big for me. I love to exercise, so I, you know, rock climbing or CrossFit or whatever. So I'm always doing something like that. Mm-hmm. And then I just keep a very close. I'm very conscientious about stress.
Yeah.
And so I'm quick to forgive people who hurt me. I have limitations on my time, so I'm not a workaholic anymore. You know, I spend a lot of time with my family. Yeah. And just doing those things that I know give me just so much joy. You know, that there's no. I mean, I think in our culture now, I mean, everybody's just so obsessed with like production. You know, I've got to produce. I got to, you know, like make more money. I got, you know, be more successful. I got to get more followers on social media, whatever it is. Like and it's never ending. Like it's once you're in that trap, once you just want more and more and more, there's never a level where you're like, okay, I have enough.
Right. Nope.
And I learned how to be content with, you know, basically just living paycheck to paycheck with cancer in a tiny little house, you know, years ago. And because I learned contentment back then, it's easy for me to be content now. And I'm blessed to say that I'm in a nicer home now than I was 15 years ago.
Right.
And I have more money in the bank now than I did 15 years ago, which isn't saying much because, you know, but the point is like, everything, it's all extra, you know what I'm saying? I should be dead statistically.
Yeah.
And so,
No, the whole idea of, yeah, this reevaluating what it's all about. I mean, I know, and it's so hard to see the younger generation because they are coming up the ranks, just like you were saying. They're not coming up the ranks with just, living paycheck to paycheck, which is enough, or smaller house, or, wanting to find those Instagram followers. I mean, it's pretty crazy, the stress level that I'm seeing, right?
A lot of self-obsession, right? And a lot of discontentment and envy and jealousy and comparing, social media, some of these, so much of it is about comparing yourself to others, posturing yourself in a way that's not true.
Right.
And at the same time, comparing yourself to other people who are also posturing. It's psychologically, it's terrible. It's so, who knows what, they're still trying to figure out what kind of an impact it's going to have on our society as a whole. Right?
I know.
But I think the thing about contentment, just something I was saying earlier, that, I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea. Like, it's okay to want more, right?
Yeah.
It's okay to work for a better life. Right. And that's not what contentment is. Contentment isn't just saying, like, I'm okay with what I have, and I don't need anything else, and you should never want anything else. Like, that's not what it is. Contentment is really saying, like, thank you, God, for what I have. Like, I'm so excited about the future. I'm excited. I want to reach more people. I want to move into a nicer home for my family, or a nicer neighborhood, or drive a car that isn't, an old beater, like. Those wanting that is totally fine. It's totally healthy, as long as as long as you're not projecting your happiness into the future.
Yes.
That's the deal, right? Because so many people, they think they want more, and they think they'll be happy when they get it, right? And so it's just a small shift, is be happy now, right?
Yeah.
You can want more, but be happy now. And if you're happy now, you'll also be happy later when you get, the promotion, or the award, or whatever it is, those things that you're working for.
I know when I got to that place, everything changed for me. And when I found contentment and peace and surrendering to, where I was at and where my heart wanted to be in that moment, and not comparing and not judging and, not all those things, wanting more, it was like everything, all the good stuff came. That's when my health really changed. I mean, that's when it went up, it started to thrive. I started to thrive, as well as things started to come my way that I never dreamed were possible. So
that's so great. Well, Elissa, it's been really fun. Thanks for hanging out.
Thank you. It was great being with you.
Yeah. So where can people find you? I'll put a link to your book, Cancer Hacks, below the interview or in the show notes. If you're listening on the podcast, or if you're watching on YouTube, there will be a link to the show notes on chrisbeatcancer.com. But where can people find you? How can they find you?
I have a website, elissagoodman.com, ELISSA Goodman.com. Twitter, Instagram, the whole gamut. Something I don't love. I also have a YouTube channel where I interview game changers in the wellness arena, mostly in LA, because as we know, the wellness space has exploded. So the people that I really think are making a difference, I interview them, and I put that out once a week. And I have a newsletter, and I have a 7-day reset cleanse that is really, really easy. That's like my soup cleanse, but people could do it anywhere in the country as well on the website.
Awesome. So, well, we'll link to all that stuff, so people can find you and get to know you better, and get your book and all that good stuff.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Elissa. This is great. Again, have a great day, and thanks for watching, everybody. Please share this with people you care about. The world needs to know that cancer does not have to be a death sentence, that there are people who have healed holistically and are thriving like Elissa, and doing great things in the world. So again, thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you on the next one.